So we just had a new Nintendo Direct this last week. And, as usual, a lot of Fire Emblem 4 fans were hoping for that supposedly leaked remake. And, well, it didn't come. Obviously. I'd probably be making a very different video right now. But still, there were some pretty good announcements in there. For one, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door is getting a remaster. That's a fantastic game. If you haven't played it, definitely give it a shot when it comes out. It's such a genuinely good time. It's some of Intelligent Systems at their absolute best right there. At least, in my opinion. But what really caught my eye was this game. Unicorn Overlord. Which is a really, really stupid name. But you know what? I love it. It's coming from Vanillaware, who made 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, which recently hit the 1 million sale threshold. Complete miracle, given that name, but it's a testament to how good the game is. I mean really, no sane person names their game 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim if they want it to sell. That said, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say I have pretty complete faith in Unicorn Overlord. Between Odin Sphere, Muramasa, Dragon's Crown, and 13 Sentinels, Vanillaware really hasn't let me down yet. And really, I mean, they're one of the few studios out there still doing beautiful 2D art like this for games. It's always just a fantastic sight to see. I'm not gonna let the studio die out, so I buy every new game they make, and so help me God, so will you. Now, if you watch this Direct as a Fire Emblem fan, you may have heard the words, "A fallen prince shall rise again," which is the plot of like 80% of Fire Emblem games. Seen a blue-haired protagonist with a sword, seen the 2D battle animations, that shockingly familiar class change animation, and thought, oh, okay, so this is like an FE ripoff. Now, this isn't an unfair assumption, but it may set up some false expectations. This trailer goes fast. It's kind of hard to tell at a glance what you're really looking at, so I think a lot of people have filled in the blanks and assumed it plays like Fire Emblem. But that's actually really not true. Upon entering combat, it isn't your usual one-on-one Fire Emblem battles. Instead, when a battle starts, a turn-based RPG battle with multi-unit parties plays out instead, each unit bringing their own unique abilities to the table based on their class. So, it's like Devil Survivor then? But it isn't exactly turn-based or even grid-based on the map sections. Everything moves in real time, with pauses only when you make decisions. So, it's an RTS, but not like League of Legends or Pikmin where it's completely real time. So it's more like... shit, I don't know, what do you kids play these days? Growlancer? Yu-Gi-Oh! The Falsebound Kingdom? The closest comparison is old Japanese RTS games like Ogre Battle, which hasn't actually had an RTS-style game since the year 2000. But looking at the gameplay, yeah, it's a dead ringer. So yeah, they really weren't kidding when they said it'd be the rebirth of tactical fantasy RPGs. Really looking at it though, it makes sense. Vanillaware's biggest games are usually either fast-paced action games or real-time strategy games like Grim Grimoire or 13 Sentinels. You got time limits, a lot of numbers, and a lot of moving parts. There's a shared resource between your units called Valor. At first I thought this would be similar to something like CO powers in Advance Wars, where you can unleash a powerful buff or attack when you completely fill the meter, but it seems like it's for using all your individual units' special abilities. I assume this just fills up as you fight enemies, like the meta skill meter in 13 Sentinels. We see Clive here use 2 Valor points to use the skill Wild Rush, allowing him to quickly move past enemies in the way and deal damage to them in the process. These are seemingly separate from the normal combat, since he's still able to engage the enemy in front of him afterwards. Once a battle begins though, we see that distinctive Vanillaware style kick in. One of the bigger disappointments of 13 Sentinels was the lack of combat animation. I mean, don't get me wrong, they make it work, and it's still pretty satisfying, but one of the biggest draws of Vanillaware is the visuals, so seeing them go full force again on Unicorn Overlord is great. As for the combat system itself though, I'm curious if we actually have any direct control over them. In a game like Ogre Battle, you can control your unit's general tactics, but not their specific actions. It's a pretty short trailer, so it's mostly just meant to be eye-catching, so we don't get to see much of the menus. But it seems like in battle, units have these red and blue icons, red being for offensive actions and blue being for defense and support. Obviously, managing these will be pretty important. The heavy knights can block incoming attacks and protect allies, reducing damage significantly. But we can see someone later in the trailer use a skill called Feather Ring before her attack, resulting in some massive AoE damage. So it may be a real all or nothing kind of system. I thought it was kind of interesting. My roommate said he was interested in this game when he saw it, but when I told him it was probably going to be an RTS style game, his enthusiasm waned. It's definitely a genre that tends to stress people out. But if that worries you too, well, I can't guarantee anything obviously because the game isn't out yet, but historically, I've found Vanillaware games to be very easy. I haven't properly played through 13 Sentinels since they patched it and nerfed the sentry guns, but when I played it on the hardest difficulty setting I was given, I was still landing S ranks on every mission without even really trying. Odin Sphere was kind of a similar experience too. So I'd say don't worry about it being too difficult. It's not really part of Vanillaware's brand or anything. Though, speaking of Vanillaware's brand, we do see this girl Scarlet whose boobs are just absolutely ready to burst out of that top. Vanillaware staple. Also, some furries. Also, the food will be borderline pornographic, and probably give some nice EXP and stat bonuses. We see this guy here in red early in the trailer, but he's exposed to the magic from the main character Alair's ring, and later he shows up in blue, fighting alongside us. So this game's gonna have some emphasis on enemy recruitment shenanigans, which is always fun in my book. The same guy shows up later in the arena segment in Liza's unit, though I can't tell if this means that you can fill your armies with named units too, or if they just get filled by generics when you're not in the arena. With over 60 recruitable characters, it'd be nice to actually get to use them all with the squad system, but we'll see about that. I can't for the life of me figure out what this number below the health and next to the sword icon is though. I thought maybe it was how many units are in the squad, like an Yggdra union, but nope. Maybe an indication of movement? Nope. Turn order? Nah. Indication of leadership level? Probably not. It's one of those things we'll just have to figure out down the line. I almost wonder if we'll have multiple protagonists. It's something not only a lot of old strategy games like doing, but also Vanillaware themselves. The game advertises as having over 60 unique characters, but obviously they aren't all gonna have their own massive stories. Elaine does look pretty central in the cover art, so I wouldn't count on it, unless they're really trying to pull out some kind of marketing bait and switch. But maybe it's asking for a bit too much. Though we may not get Vanillaware's non-linear, multiple perspective storytelling, we will still have a lot of freedom in how we approach this game. The world's going to be fully explorable at our leisure. We can travel and liberate the 5 kingdoms in any order we want, and watch as the world slowly recovers from the Empire's destruction. And you know what? That sounds pretty rad to me. Oh, and of course, Base Escape is doing the soundtrack, so it's going to be phenomenal. 13 Sentinels is like a top 10 soundtrack, easy. But with that might be all I want to extract out of this minute-and-a-half long trailer. They are advertising it as the rebirth of tactical fantasy RPGs. So I'd say if what you miss about old Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics or Romance of the Three Kingdoms or whatever is the overall tone, setting, and general vibe, definitely check this one out. Though if you're looking for something to fulfill Fire Emblem's exact niche, temper your expectations. This game's probably going to be weird. But it's always good to try new things, so if it interests you, definitely pick it up. Vanillaware has a great track record. Anyways, now I really want to play Dragon Force, so I guess I'm gonna go find a Saturn emulator. I'll see you guys later.